name's Jason, and welcome back to Bava's Story. Following along with my series here about mental and physical health and illness, I've spent the first couple days talking about chemicals, and there is so much. I mean, I could go on for weeks just in chemicals, and it, it really upsets me with the American mindset that has become, we need more chemicals. I've talked about the mosquito spraying. Let's spray poison across our whole skies and throughout our whole earth to kill mosquitoes, because in my state 2 people died of West Nile virus or some sort of illness from a mosquito. Actually, I believe it was what they died from. I believe it was actually the other one mosquitoes give you. So we'd rather poison ourselves because we're over the fear of 2 people who died. Well, how many people are going to die from all the poison that is being sprayed around us? Oh, it's right there on the tip of my tongue, and I know what the one, the other disease that I can't. That's just this is the way my brain works, and I'm not going to edit this stuff out. This is how it works for me. Love me or leave me. That's all I got to say to that. So, Lyme disease. There it is. I had the rock in my head, and I couldn't limestone in my head, and that's what I couldn't get the word to it. So Lyme disease is the other one that mosquitoes give us. So we're so worried about that, but we're not worried about those chemicals. I think that's terrible. But let's move on to the next stage, because I could talk about chemicals forever. Let's talk about victims, specifically those who are victims of abuse. And abuse comes in many forms. Obviously, we know domestic violence and physical abuse. And I'm sorry, people, but I have watched that take place in my life. At least, it's got to be very, very close to 50-50 between the men who abuse the women and the women who abuse the men. I really, and over time, it's, in what I've seen, and more recent, it's been the women who abuse the men than the men who abuse the women. So that is one that most people can understand. It's one that most people have seen. But there's also more abuse that takes place than just physical abuse and domestic violence abuse. Growing up as a kid in the city of Toledo, we had what was known as the bag lady. And so many people picked on her, made fun of her, poked at her because she was homeless and dirty. But I wanted to know why. Why was she homeless? There had to be a reason. So back in the day, and we're talking, this is back in the 80s, 1980s into the 90s. It was over 10 years that I watched this woman on the streets all around me. Everywhere. She was everywhere. I'll tell you what, put a pedometer on that woman's shoes and see how many steps she traveled in a day. That would have been an interesting statistic in itself. But I wanted to know why. Why was she homeless? And I doubt you find this much today, especially not in Toledo. Not saying that there aren't good people, it's just people have changed. There used to be an EMT worker. She would just stop and check on her and see how she was doing. And I remember visiting one day, and she had maggots in her skin. Oh, get that one out of my stomach for a minute. The things I've seen. Oh God, the things I've seen. But I want to know, why was she like that? So I talked to the EMT worker and found out the reason she was like that was because her house burnt down and all of her family died except for her. And she became scared to go inside of a building. I'll tell you what, my heart sank. I just wanted to cry. Still sitting here today thinking about it, I want to cry. She was homeless because her house burnt down and killed everybody in it but her. And she became scared to go inside of anywhere. So they used to check on her on the street. And there were times that I know of that she was hospitalized, because they would pick her up and find her in such bad shape. But apparently before that, she was a normal person. And that changed her life. And I'm sure all the people who tormented her did too, and not in a positive way. I remember when the berries would bloom behind junior high school, and she'd go out and pick the berries for food to eat. I don't know how she truly survived as long as she did on the streets. And I go over and talk to her and even help her pick berries and talk to her. And my friends are going, Jason, what the? You know, guys, you got to understand. There's a reason why she's like this. The part of the mentality of kids and part of the mentality of the city I grew up in. They didn't want to hear that. So there's a lot more to being a victim than just physical abuse. So many things can take place in our life. Car accidents and people who are afraid to drive or get into a car. And then that changes their mind to, especially today where it seems like everybody has a voice to want to speak politics, but everybody is speaking, so many of them, from being a victim. Chemicals that have twisted their brains, twisted their bodies, put them into so many different scenarios that make them a victim. To raise a whole entire country stating this is how you're supposed to live, these are the rules to live by and to follow, and then all of a sudden, and the snap of a finger, tell an entire country that you're racist, you're sexist, you're wrong if you believe in that stuff? Yes, we're all a victim here, aren't we? This has twisted us so severely all the way around. Part of me doing this channel is the best way I find in my head to deal with it is to talk about it. Share it with people, to talk about it with more people, to start getting more people to understand. Or at least feel like there's more people out there who understand. Welcome to being a victim. So there's so much to victimization than what a lot of people think of as being a victim. So many more that I could share. These are just some of the things to think about. And then on top of it, when you're a victim and have all these chemicals of what they've all done to our brains, and then even to step further into just chemicals, I talked about it before with airwaves. All these cell phone transmissions and radio waves and everything that go through our airways is all interfering and affecting us in different ways. We don't fully know the outcome and the full aspect of what all of that does to us. We are the guinea pigs. Personally, I'm not okay with that. I'd rather live simple and basic and be happy and healthy than to sit here and watch my whole world spiraling around me. People getting sick, people dying, people doing things they probably would have never done if it wasn't for all these things that have happened to them. Going to federal schooling and learning about radio waves and airwaves, and I did that all on my own just because I like knowledge, and that's what I do. I go to school, I learn, I really seek knowledge. But taking federal schooling on communication devices, building and using licensed communication devices, they teach you that these aren't good. Do the research on a HAARP, HAARP. It proves there that they already know they can change frequencies, change the power of it, and affect people's mental, I should say, instability. This has been tested. It's been done. There's research out there about it. What is all of this doing to us? Well, look at the world going crazy, going insane, spiraling out of control. I think we see what it does to us, don't we? So, I don't know, share your comments. Tell me what you think. Please like and subscribe and share. These are some of the things I have to say and that I see and I think about, I don't hear anybody else talking about it. And these are the things that I see, things that I think about, what goes through my head. And I'm here to share them with you.